Welcome to my YouTube channel. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, the kind of moment that feels straight out of a movie but happens more often than you think, because today we are talking about a seemingly ordinary 2013 P Roosevelt dime that most people wouldn't even look at twice. Yet under the right conditions and with the right rare characteristics, this tiny piece of metal has been linked to staggering valuations, with top-end speculative collector excitement pushing its perceived worth as high as $60 million, and before you roll your eyes and think, "No way," stick with me, because what makes this coin special is not just its year or mint mark but the hidden details that only a trained eye, or a very lucky one, would ever notice. And trust me, you're going to want to stay till the end, because the next coin we'll uncover makes this one look almost ordinary. And that's saying something, so don't go anywhere, because what's coming next will seriously test what you think you know about pocket change. Now let's break this down, because the 2013 P Roosevelt dime was minted in Philadelphia, one of the most historically significant mints in the United States, and while millions upon millions of these dimes were produced for everyday circulation, a microscopic fraction of them came out with unusual characteristics that turned them into collector goldmines. And I'm not talking about the obvious stuff like scratches or wear. I'm talking about minting anomalies that occur deep within the production process, the kind of errors that even the mint itself sometimes fails to catch before coins are released into circulation. And those are the coins that quietly slip into your pocket, your piggy bank, or even that dusty jar sitting on your shelf right now, completely unnoticed while carrying a potential life-changing secret. One of the most talked about possibilities for a coin like this is a dramatic mint error known as a double die obverse, where the design is struck twice but slightly misaligned, creating a ghost-like doubling effect on inscriptions like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." And while minor doubling is fairly common, a strong, visually striking double die can send collectors into a frenzy, because it represents a flaw in the minting process that wasn't supposed to happen. And when you combine that with pristine condition, what collectors call a perfect or near-perfect grade, you start entering territory where values skyrocket beyond anything a casual spender would ever imagine. But here's where it gets even crazier, because there have been whispers in the collecting world about ultra-rare transitional errors and experimental planchets tied to modern coins like the 2013 P dime, meaning the coin could have been struck on the wrong type of metal or with a composition not intended for that denomination. And when something like that happens, you're no longer dealing with just a coin. You're dealing with a one-of-a-kind artifact, something that bridges the gap between everyday currency and historical anomaly, and collectors will pay insane amounts of money to own something that literally should not exist. Now picture this scenario: someone finds one of these rare variants in a roll of dimes from the bank. They almost spend it on coffee, but something feels off. Maybe the weight is slightly different, maybe the shine looks unusual, and instead of ignoring it, they decide to get it checked, and suddenly they're standing in front of experts who realize this coin isn't just rare, it's extraordinary. The kind of discovery that gets talked about in collector circles for years, and that's exactly how coins like this build their legendary status, not overnight, but through a mix of rarity, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. And let's talk auctions for a second, because this is where things go from interesting to mind-blowing. High-end collectors don't just buy coins, they compete for them. And when two serious collectors want the same ultra-rare piece, the price can spiral into territory that seems completely detached from reality, driven by prestige, passion, and the simple desire to own something no one else has. And that's how you end up hearing numbers like $60 million being thrown around, not because every 2013 P dime is worth that, obviously not, but because the rarest possible version of it, under perfect conditions, with the right story behind it, can reach astronomical levels in the right setting. Now here's the part that should make you sit up straight, because coins like this don't come with warning labels, they don't glow, they don't announce themselves, they blend in perfectly with the rest of your change, meaning there is a real chance, yes, a real chance, that one of these hidden gems could be sitting unnoticed in your home right now, and most people would spend it without a second thought, completely unaware that they just let go of something potentially life-changing, and that's exactly why collectors always say to check your coins carefully, because the difference between an ordinary dime and an extraordinary one can come down to the tiniest detail. And before you think this is the peak of what we're covering today, let me just say this, you haven't seen anything yet, because the next coin we're about to dive into takes everything you thought was extreme and pushes it even further, with a story that's even more unbelievable and details that will make you question how something so small can carry so much value, so stick around, keep your curiosity locked in, because if this 2013 P dime surprised you, the next coin is going to completely flip the script on what you think pocket change is really worth. Next, 1997 P Roosevelt Dime. Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could quietly be one of the rarest modern treasures hiding in plain sight, and the 1997 P Roosevelt Dime is the perfect example of how something so small and ordinary can carry a story so massive that even seasoned collectors get chills when they hear about it, because under the right conditions, with the right combination of minting anomalies and near-perfect preservation, this coin has been associated with jaw-dropping collector hype reaching as high as $70 million, and yeah, that sounds insane, but once you understand what makes this particular dime so mysterious and desirable, you'll never look at your spare change the same way again, so stay locked in because by the time we reach the end of this story, you might actually want to start digging through every coin you own, and trust me, you'll want to hear every detail because what you missed in the last coin was just the beginning of something way bigger. Now let's get into the reality behind the 1997 P dime, minted in Philadelphia during a time when production was smooth, efficient, and largely automated, meaning errors were supposed to be minimal, but ironically, that's exactly what makes any error from this era so valuable, because when something goes wrong in a system designed for perfection, it becomes incredibly rare. And rarity is everything in the world of coin collecting, especially when it shows up in coins that were never meant to stand out in the first place. One of the most talked about possibilities tied to this coin is an extreme off-center strike combined with a full date visibility, a condition that almost never happens cleanly, and when it does, it creates a coin that looks dramatically different while still retaining its identity, making it a dream find for collectors who love visual errors that tell a clear story of what went wrong during minting. And when such a coin is preserved in high grade, untouched by circulation damage, its desirability multiplies instantly. But it doesn't stop there, because rumors within collector communities have pointed toward ultra-rare die clashes and even experimental die usage during short production windows, meaning some of these dimes may carry faint but undeniable traces of designs from other coins or mismatched die impressions, something that shouldn't exist under strict minting protocols, and yet, occasionally slips through, turning an everyday coin into a historical accident that collectors would go to war over in an auction room. Now imagine someone casually rolls up a batch of old dimes, maybe from a family collection or a forgotten drawer, sends them off for grading without expecting much, and suddenly one of them comes back flagged as something extraordinary, the kind of coin that sparks immediate attention from elite collectors, the kind that gets whispered about in private sales and high-end auctions, and before you know it, what started as a routine submission becomes a headline-worthy discovery, and that's how coins like the 1997 P Dime build their mythos, not through hype alone, but through the rare moments when reality actually lives up to the legend. And here's where things get intense, because the value of a coin like this isn't just about the metal or even the error itself, it's about the uniqueness, the story, and the competition it creates among collectors who all want to own that one impossible piece, and when multiple high-level buyers enter the scene, prices don't just rise, they explode, driven by emotion, prestige, and the undeniable pull of owning something that almost no one else on earth can claim, and that's how you start hearing figures like $70 million being associated with a dime, something that most people wouldn't even bother picking up off the ground. Now let's bring it back to you for a second, because this isn't just about theory or distant auction houses, this is about the very real possibility that coins like this are still out there, still circulating, still being overlooked every single day, sitting in jars, wallets, and drawers, waiting for someone to notice that one tiny detail that changes everything, and the truth is, most people never will, they'll spend it, lose it, or ignore it, and that's exactly why the few who do pay attention end up making discoveries that seem almost unreal. And if you thought the journey ended here, think again, because what ties these coins together isn't just their value, it's the idea that history, mistakes, and pure chance can collide in the smallest objects imaginable, turning everyday change into something legendary, and once you start seeing coins this way, there's no going back, because every dime, every penny, every coin you touch starts to feel like a potential hidden story waiting to be uncovered, and that's the real thrill of this world, the chase, the mystery, and the possibility that the next coin you hold could be the one that changes everything.